You're listening to the Sovereign Society podcast, a spiritual lifestyle sanctuary empowering you to honor the journey, trust the process, and radiate your radness. I'm your soul guide, Sabrina Riccio, Kundalini yoga teacher, spiritual mentor, and modern medicine woman who's on a mission to anchor in heaven on earth in this golden era. Join me every week where I gather some of my favorite spiritual leaders, goddesspreneurs, and changemakers for some authentic conversations about all things spirituality, wellness, what it takes to build your empire, and so much more. Over the years, after my deep Kundalini awakening and a series of events like being struck by lightning, it's been loud and clear that part of my divine purpose here is to share with you the tools and the guidance that supported me along the way. My mission here is to empower you to navigate through these changing times with ease and grace as you go forth and align to your soul's destiny while staying true and real along the way. Thank you so much for tuning into the Sovereign Society podcast, and get ready because we're about to go in deep and come out the other side stronger than ever before. This episode is brought to you by the Shamanesque Goddessa shop, and for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I am offering 25% off everything in the Shamanesque Goddessa shop, all your ceremonial needs to clear your sacred spaces, your baths, all the good stuff. And I'm also offering a really rad opportunity for you to enjoy Stay Woke, my 6-part lecture series, which is a guide to thrive in the golden era, which was really a powerful way to really set the foundation. And I'm offering that for $44, as well as the Mending the Lineage upgrade, which is a Kundalini yoga class and a group coaching call. And our group coaching call is on that Cyber Monday on the 26th. And so if things have been coming up for you at the holidays, this is the perfect opportunity for us to hold space, for me to help guide you, and to be that teacher and that guide to support you during these times. So you can check out all the goods by visiting sabrinariccio.com to enroll in Stay Woke, to sign up for Mending the Lineage Up-Level experience, and to also get 25% off in the Shamanesque Goddessa shop with the code BLESSED. Hello, 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 and welcome to this exciting episode of the Sovereign Society podcast. I'm your spiritual guide, Sabrina Riccio, and I am beyond thrilled to be sharing with you this episode today with my dear sister friend, Erin Telford, because it's episodes like this one that bring so much joy to me, because I know it's episodes like this that are in alignment with my dharma and in alignment with my soul purpose and my mission of really cultivating that conscious generation. And so to be able to be sharing with you all this episode of Mending the Heart of the Holidays, oh my God, I was re-listening to this episode just to get back into that vibration and feel, because Erin, she's been a nomadic, beautiful soul, just like on this journey and, you know, trusting where God takes her, where spirit takes her, and just flowing with it. And I knew she was back around in Joshua Tree, and we ended up being Pilates partners, and we were at Pilates a couple times a week together and just like really strengthening our bond and our relationship. And she's such an incredible human being, and I'm so grateful for this woman so much. And to have this conversation with you today, the intention was, I just knew I wanted to have this conversation with her for the holidays. So you're probably listening to this, you're getting ready to go to your parents' house for the holidays, for Thanksgiving in America, or you're preparing for the holiday season as we're approaching these holy days. And this episode is going to be pure medicine for you. I guarantee it. There is so much wisdom, so much juice, so much content, so many tools. This is like a life coaching. It's seriously like an episode of life coaching. And the power of this episode, I know you guys are really going to dig it. And I just see my vision, like seeing people listening to this episode, I see them going forth and taking what they need, what resonates with them, and releasing the rest, and seeing how that in itself is going to make and is making such a powerful impact in their lives, how they show up, and more so on becoming a better human being. I truly, truly, truly feel this. And the way that this conversation goes, because you know me, I love to see how they flow, and I love to just be that portal where whatever wants to come through, let's allow it to come through. And that's what happened here. That's what this episode was all about. And so having Erin was such a pleasure. And to see how, you know, she was moved by this episode, how I was moved by this episode. It was just so lovely and so wonderful. And so we're here to talk to you guys about how to navigate through these times, because I'm sure there's a lot of you guys that are feeling really triggered with the holidays, either like, shit, I had to see family, or like, oh my God, I have a family of racists, or how do I handle these conversations where my inner child is really being tested and triggered. This episode is for you. So what's crazy is that I first discovered Erin years ago when I was really on my spiritual path. I don't remember how I came across her, but I knew she was an acupuncturist, and I was following her then. And then she came through to Joshua Tree last year, and I just moved here, and we connected, and we went to sound baths together. And then she went back on her nomadic ways. And then she came back through. And this time around was just so much, it was so fun just to really have this conversation. And a year ago on Ruby Warrington's The Numinous, she wrote this article about how to navigate through the holidays and to have these conversations with the family. And that piece resonated with me so much that when I saw her in Pilates, I was like, oh my God, I need to have her on the podcast to talk about that exact topic and to honor the holidays and to have these conversations about family and how do we navigate through it. So if you don't know who Erin is, she's a powerful breathwork facilitator and a healer, and she's an acupuncturist and a Reiki master and an herbalist, and she's a teacher of David Elliott's Level 1 Breathwork Healer Training. And what she's passionate about, her work, her dharma, is all about guiding people to look within, to open their hearts, and to heal their relationships with themselves. So she's stepping out of the one-on-one work as well. I'm focusing more on group sessions, which I'm so stoked for her too. But what Erin really believes is that we all hold these core wounds and these limiting beliefs that subconsciously run our lives. And so when we allow ourselves to really somatically release them from the emotional body and the nervous system, there's freedom on the other side, because she believes that our emotions are really messengers with the information that let us know where to direct our healing and our compassion. So she's very passionate about destigmatizing these emotions and the human experience so that we can take shame off the table and start to really deal with what's under the depression, what's under the anxiety, what's under the patterns that have kept us contracted. And so she's writing her book right now. She was like, oh, we're going to be supporting each other writing our book. She's writing her proposal for her book, and I'm just so grateful to have her. And so in this episode, we're talking about mending the heart of the holidays, and there's so much for you guys to take. I really suggest you really listen to this and the words that we're sharing and the advice and what we can share to support you before you step into that holiday table, and to take care of yourself and honor yourself, because we talked a lot about getting back to basics and reclaiming your sovereignty around the holidays, as well as navigating through the culture and the noise of the holidays, how breath can help us navigate through these holidays, and the tools and the practices and the medicine to really help you honor your boundaries with family, which is a massive, massive topic, because I feel like most of us really didn't learn that. So we talked about energetically building your immunity system and the power of leading by example. And my favorite thing she said was talking about this reality check around your hierarchy of wokeness, and talking about privilege and talking about appropriation, which are such hot topics right now. And so we also talked about walking your talk when it comes to living your values, how we can begin to honor each other's path of consciousness, and understanding the spiritual truth of what 2018 has been. I know it's been a really challenging year for a lot of people, but there is a purpose for all this. So we just really want to help you guys navigate through these challenging and triggering topics that can arise, as well as the inner child work, because that's what I'm so passionate and that's the work that I do. So I'm really excited for you guys to be tuning into this episode and listening to what we're here to share, and know that you are so supported and that we have the power to really anchor in heaven on earth during this time of year. And that was my intention with Mending the Lineage, and to see the shifts that have been happening over in the Facebook support group for our 40-day free Kundalini experience has been so beautiful, and I'm so blessed and so grateful. And I do want to share that there will only be, after this episode, there's only going to be 2 more episodes left for 2018, as I'm taking the whole month of December off, which I've never done before. I've literally been nonstop for 29 years, it feels like. And so for me to take off the month of December, I'm still going to be working. I'm going to be writing the book, which is a lot more fun. I've been continuously getting more and more of what to share with you all. But I'm just allowing myself to take care of myself and to also prepare myself for 2019, because I refuse to play small for you all. I refuse to play small for humanity's evolution, and to really allow myself to show up and to support you all. And so with that being said, Thrive, the price for Thrive will be doubling in December. So if you want to join for Thrive, to really allow yourself to transmute your trauma into triumph, which is so much of what today's episode and this episode is about, I invite you to go check out thrive.sabrinariccio.com, set up your application, and let's connect, because I'm only going to be communicating with you all through email during the month of December. So if you're not on my email list, go for it. And I'm excited. I'm just really honoring my boundaries around social media. And so I'll be keeping up with you all through the email list. And we'll have a few more episodes here this year. And then January is going to be powerful. I have so many people on my list that I'm just so excited to be sharing with you all. But before we go there, let's really dive into this conversation. So I'm so honored, grateful, and blessed to be sharing with you episode 62 of the Sovereign Society podcast, Mending the Heart of the Holidays with Erin Telford. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Sovereign Society podcast, coming to you live from the Riccio casita. I love having these in my home, and I have a desert nomad here with me.
Hi.
Yeah, Erin Telford's here, and last time she was at my house is like when I first moved in and she first started her nomadic journey of just traveling around and discovering what's arising and the next steps and a deeper sense of you. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. What a difference a year makes.
Yeah. I know now I have like stuff in my house now.
Yeah.
And
It's wild.
Because I ran into her at a Pilates class out here and I was like, I knew you were back.
I knew we'd see each other. It was unavoidable. Totally unavoidable.
She's back. So Joshua Tree called her back. And
yes.
Yeah.
For some healing, some clarity, all the things.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Yeah. And we're here because I know she was like, we were talking about, I was like, I want to have this conversation with you. Because I remember reading her article at the Numinous last year at Ruby Warrington's platform, the Numinous. And she was talking about like how to navigate through the holidays, emotionally navigate through the holidays. And that's why I'm doing my 40-day free experience right now of honoring the lineage, so that we can use the Kundalini to start rewiring the subconscious. And Erin's here, and we're going to be talking a lot about how to handle the emotions and whatever is arising, whether you have your family around or you don't have family around, or whatever is really coming up during this time. The materialism and the money and all these things. This can be a really triggering time, and our intention here is just to really help you remember what these times are actually about, which is about love and community and family and, everything else that the humanness kind of carries in or brings in of our own shit, and a lot of that can also be triggered from the inner child and all those things. So I'm really excited to be having this conversation, because even when I saw her, I was like, this is the topic that I really wanted to talk to you about. She's very passionate about breath work, but how do you see breath really being part of the navigator through the holidays, through the emotions and what's coming up?
First, I really love that you said about, what the holidays are really about love, togetherness, community, family, and maybe even giving, maybe even connection with spirit in whatever capacity you connect with. And I think that really speaks to, I see a lot of programming, being moved through right now. A lot of people who are actually getting in touch with the fact that they can make up their own rules, that just because it's seen as a consumer holiday, or it's seen as like a capitalist holiday, or it's materialistic, who cares? Like, what do you feel it is? What do you think about it is? Like, you don't have to engage or get swept up in any of that stuff whatsoever. That's a choice.
And that's part of the sovereignty, right?
Exactly.
It's like you're choosing your reality of how you decide. Some families, they're like, we're not doing gifts this year.
Right. Because we just want to connect. We just want to be together. It's about food, sharing, connection. So I think that is such an important piece of being able to, there's so much programming that we have, and we're going to talk a little bit about getting into it from a child standpoint. But to be an adult and not buy into the overculture and know that you're making a choice, whether it's about how you dress, who you love, what you do as your career, anything that you do is your choice. And like all of that static and noise of the overculture and of our collective unconscious, like you can opt out of any of it. And you can make a choice about what a holiday means for you, or what you are celebrating and who you want to celebrate with, and all of that. You don't have to buy into anything that makes you feel bad, that makes you feel guilty, that makes you feel small or ashamed or unworthy or out of the loop or not doing what everybody else is doing. Like, it's a really good place to bring your consciousness and your values and your integrity into what you're putting your energy into.
Mm-hmm. So how are you seeing breath helping people navigate through that?
I have my practice, that I use for as an emotional vent, to move out emotions around, anxiety, fear, insecurity, confusion, grief, sadness, loss, abuse energy. I use breath work for everything that's contained in my body that is painful, that's stored in my nervous system and in my hips and my shoulders and all of the places in my eyes. And so you can't always escape from your family to go do a full breathwork session.
Be right back. Like, leave the table. Be right back. Yeah.
Like, you can't always do that. Like, some families, like my family, because I see them so infrequently, like, it's almost like blasphemy if you aren't with them. Like, you have to be with them every second of every moment that you're together. So the idea of taking a half hour, 45 minutes for yourself is a pretty strong boundary to draw for me. So what I'm working with this year is doing the work in advance and being able to really take some time out before I go and engage to work on the parts of me that are, because this year is a different story, but let's say 7 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, my anxiety would begin maybe like as soon as I booked the ticket to go home. And it would ramp up and ramp up and ramp up until, I got on the plane or like got in the car. And so without having awareness around what that's about for you and like why you're triggered, what you're subjecting yourself to, what you're walking into, and what the potential for harm and, everybody's family is different, but you can be walking into a lot of potential hurt and on multiple different levels. I know that for me, my body consciousness gets really high, like there are opinions about how I dress and what I wear and what I look like. And so there's a lot of shrinking for me that happens. So I'd start to feel myself like regress to maybe like 13 or 14 years old. And the part of me that was really like punchy and rebellious and agitated and volatile and stuff. And so I would feel powerless, but I would have all this rage inside me that I would like eke out. But it was really, just covering up all this, like these deep wounds that would just feel like they were being exposed to everybody when I was with my family. So it's a little bit of a tangent, but what I'm doing this year again is to be able to bring awareness in advance to what I will be potentially triggered by, what's happened in the past. What are some of the things that come up for me? What are some of the ages I regress to? What are some of the like conversations I haven't had with people that I'm going to be seeing? What are the ways that I get really foggy and get really unclear and, forget about myself, like disassociate, maybe have an extra glass of wine, maybe have more sugar than I normally would have.
To mask and...
Yeah. So what are the ways I kind of like buffer my experience with like technology, TV, food or alcohol? And what's the potential? Not like anticipating being hurt, but just kind of knowing myself and knowing where I'm at. What are some of the potential things that I might come up against? And then doing some breathwork sessions in advance of that to remind myself that I'm safe, remind myself that I'm loved, remind myself that my feelings are valid, and to be able to use the breathwork to like push out advanced rage, advanced irritation, advanced frustration, and advanced like smallness and insecurity and comparison. And just really like invite my little wee one. Like I love to tell people to have their, usually it's like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old to like come and like snuggle up with them and like tuck under their arm, or like even like, how if you've ever had the weight of a baby like laying on your chest, like how good that feels to just have a little child like laying on top of you, and they're so snuggly and cute, and they just have like the perfect little like football shape. So imagining your little teeny baby self, being nurtured by you and held by you and like tended to by you during your breathwork session, that like the reminder that everything's going to be okay. You're not a child, you're an adult. You have tools. You're allowed to take care of yourself. You're allowed to take time outs. You're allowed to have boundaries, and you're allowed to have feelings.
Yeah, because even when you're doing the work now, it's like reserve, right? It's
Yeah.
reserve energy, reserve emotions.
Build it up.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think the biggest thing too is like, before you interact, like right when you wake up, to make sure you're really doing the self-care and like, doing clearing sweeps before you go to bed. And like the biggest thing that I can also suggest too, going into these situations is like zip up and see this like zipper around your auric field of like golden light protecting you, and even seeing like a visual is like seeing the violet flame sitting in the middle of the table, of the dinner table, and just seeing
that.
whatever is coming up to use that violet flame to transmute,
It's a really powerful tool. I love that so much. I'll wrap myself in a bubble of light, or sometimes put myself, if I'm extra sensitive and feeling extra like sort of unprotected. And I don't believe in protection so much,
right,
as much as like building your energetic immunity. But, sometimes emergency situations, you got to pull out the big gun. So, I'll like kind of picture myself in like a steel tube, like, or like a steel box, just like, like, like the panic room, but like I'm in it, and like I will not absorb anyone's energy that is not mine.
And that's part of also honoring your boundary of saying no, thank you, you know? And it's like, I think a lot of the times when we're with the family, it can go back to like high school you or middle school you, where your mom's like, do this, do this, do this. And you're like, yes, mom, even though if it doesn't feel good, or you're trying to please your parents or things like that. And it's like, I'm a grown ass woman. I can say no. Like if I want to leave, I can leave. Like, things like that. And I think that's a huge thing to remember too. And when those moments come up of, high school you or middle school you, see those as opportunities of moments of time from your past that are coming up to be healed and transmuted as well.
Absolutely. That's like the spiral returns. Yeah. I was thinking about like, it's interesting, like setting boundaries or saying no. It's not so hard for me to do that now, but then it's like dealing with the energetic pulling that happens after you declare your needs. So you can be like, no, I'm not doing that. And just be like, I'm not doing that. And then you can feel this, you know, as energetically sensitive people, you can feel this like mew, 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 this like tug, this like pulling of like, they don't like it. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to change the game. And like, I think that's what gets me the most is the energetic pulling, because I'm like, I can feel you. Knock it off.
Yeah. And it's also a lot of like, you sometimes we could be triggering them to also think outside of their comfort zone when we're saying no, because they don't know how to say no. They are not used to that. And I feel like a lot of the older generations are feeling really challenged and triggered because things are changing, and a lot of them have just been so comfortable in the way life's been, but clearly it isn't working.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So coming through and speaking your truth with conviction and with the space and the intention of awareness or education. You know, I know for me, this has been such a hot topic. And this is what we were talking about earlier, but even just the whole idea of the racism and having, you know, sometimes a family dinners, like these big conversations come up to politics and what's going on in the world and all that thing. And, you know, it's going to be interesting too, because this is a really powerful midterm that we just had. And so those things can arise, you know, and a lot of people don't see the same way. And I know for me, I've had to educate more of the unconscious people in my life about like, well, that's not okay. You know what I mean? And try to educate, because some of them are also very closed-minded. So it's also speaking with conviction, your sacred why, right?
Yes.
Because you're not going to be able to change your family.
No.
Right? Like, I know for me, what I've been able to see is I'm just doing my best to lead by example.
I think that is the absolute best way, because I really, you know, one of my kind of least favorite thought patterns in the spiritual community is the, you know, people talk about their families or their parents or maybe even other people in their community with some like disdain and condescension, like, oh, you know, they're just idiots. They don't get it. You know, there's some kind of like comparison of like a spiritual hierarchy of wokeness, and it doesn't create connection. It just doesn't. And it's like, if you want to have an enjoyable experience with your family, if you're coming home to be like, I need to let you know about all this stuff that I'm learning, and I'm like, and you need to know because you don't get it. Like, that is not
friction.
Yeah. I like the idea that we are like, if you want to just look at humans in general, everybody's coming with their own wounds. Everyone's coming with their own curriculum. Everyone's coming with their own karma. If you believe that you chose your parents, then you're in the right place. You know, whether you're talking to them, not talking to them, no matter how, you know, quote unquote woke or spiritual they seem, if you look at them as human beings, or really anybody in your world as a human being who just wants love, attention, affection, understanding, and connection, then the way that you're going to come at them is going to be a lot different than if you're like, I've been doing all this work, you don't get it. I'm going to talk down to you about my spiritual practices because I want to clue you into the things that you don't understand and that you should be doing. It's going to do the opposite. It's not going to create connection. It's not going to create understanding. And it's going to cause a lot of conflict because nobody likes to be talked to like they don't get it.
Talk down to.
So I think the sharing and like just what you said, like leading by example, with my family, we went from like some of the most traumatic, like tear-laden, screaming matches, like how fast can I get away from these people? You know, maybe I'll never go back, kind of holiday situations to, you know, I just did my work. You know, everybody's growing, everyone's doing their own thing, but like when I changed how I was showing up to holiday situations, that's when things changed. You know, there was a time when I was like showing up as like a walking wound, and basically my body was saying to everyone in my family, fix it, make me feel better, make up for everything.
This is your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got 4 days, make up for everything, get to it. I'm just going to sit here and wait for you to get it together and make me feel loved and taken care of. And like, and that was just a disaster. It was a total disaster. So when I started filling up from within and I started like truly deeply loving myself and really taking care of myself and not needing them to fill up the deep hole inside of me where I needed them to show me that I was loved and tell me that I was loved in order to believe it. Like it was a never ending hole. Like there was really nothing that anyone could have filled that up with.
Because then you're looking outside of you for your power.
Yeah. And then there's just nothing. I'm just like, fix me, fill me, help me. And it wasn't until I started filling up from inside that things started to change. There was a little bit of a, I segue hard.
No, I do too. I mean, this is just, we're just in flow. No.
Yeah. But I think that that's like being that example. Like if you live and breathe your values and you come in with the intention of connection and loving and like trying to see people for who they are, and having a curiosity and like a wonderment about who these people are beyond the roles that they played in your lives and who you think they are, I think it can get a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I know for me, what I've been doing since like truly embarking on the spiritual path is going back to that hawk perspective.
Yes.
You know, like starting to fly higher from the situation, looking at the higher perspective of what's actually happening. Like maybe mom's acting this way because she was really triggered as a kid and wasn't really heard or seen, you know, and she still has those deep wounds. And luckily with our generation, we're so blessed that, you know, we have that space to do the work. Our parents have a lot deeper wounds, you know, that they also have to go through. Like I know for me, my mom came from immigrants, you know, so there's a lot of that kind of scarcity mindset to cut through, and the materialism and things like that. And then there's also like, you know, just being in a family and like not being seen or heard or allowed to that thing. And so to be able to go in that hawk perspective and being like, oh, like this person's being triggered because of this, or this person's being like, there's still pain that they're carrying, you know, from their childhood. Things like that. And that allows you to just have a deeper sense of compassion too, which is again what the holidays are about. You know, it's that giving that love of, I see you and I understand what you're going through, and I recognize that you did your best, you know, raising me. You did your best showing up, and I want to heal this. If you even have the intention of going in, of being, even before you even arrive at the front door of your parents' house, for instance, like my intention is to heal the matters, because with the way that the fucking world is right now, like we can't have more division, and the inner is creating the outer. So this is an opportunity for us to actually go back and heal. And maybe there can also be times where the family is just so toxic that just being at peace with honoring yourself in that way too. So I'd love to even talk about that, you know?
Yeah, that's, you know, I've definitely had some periods of my life where I did have to take some steps away from people in my family. And I think that it was such an anger-fueled choice that I felt a lot of righteousness about it. And I didn't, so that kind of like overrode any guilt that I was having. But I think that that's a really painful choice to have to make, to say that, you know, this person that I want to love and I want to be connected with is so harmful to me that I have to take a step back and either sever the relationship or, you know, take a break from the relationship. It's a really self-loving choice, but it kind of goes against our biology and like our physiology to like kick yourself, like exit the tribe on purpose. But I think it's, you know, it's a brave and powerful choice. So I think when you are alone, when you're alone, maybe, or missing somebody, or have somebody that you can't connect with at the holidays, that can be exceptionally painful because their presence is usually so loud if they're not there. But yeah, definitely supporting yourself through. I mean, we all have our blood family, and then we have our chosen family, our soul family. And even if that's just one person or two people, you know, all you need is one. Maybe sometimes it's your dog or your cat. But as long as you have some kind of support and some kind of team, you know, physical or non-physical, to support you, you might have to lean on that support a little extra heavily, and ask for what you need too from the people that you love, because people aren't always, there's a lot of fast moving energy, and people are really concerned with their own families and their own plans at that point in time. But yeah, self-support and then asking for your needs to be met from the people around you that love you is really important.
Yeah, and I think also if you are someone that has like a pretty healthy family dynamic, to remember to check in on those friends.
Yes.
You know, because sometimes there may be too much shame to like reach out and ask for help, you know. So if you know of a friend's history and you consider yourself pretty privileged and blessed to have healthy family dynamic, use that as an opportunity to reach out to someone who may not.
You did that for me last year, which is really sweet. I was out here in the desert, and yeah, there was a sort of a misconnection on a Thanksgiving celebration, and I was here and I knew one person, and then I knew Sabrina, and she very sweetly and kindly and generously asked me to join her family in Palm Springs for Thanksgiving. And I like that gesture that you made really went a long way to healing a deeper wound that I had within me about, you know, not being checked on and being forgotten about. So that was really incredible. And that was just like it was so generous. I don't want to say it's simple, because that's not inviting somebody else to join and be with your family and all their stuff, and the potential for
a big Italian family.
Yeah, I love big Italian families. But that was really, that really like, even though I ended up, I got 2 invitations last year, which is totally bizarre. So there was a lot of healing around loneliness for me last year. But yeah, I think that's so important. And if you have the capacity, if you have the generosity to, and the remembering to check on people and invite them, you know, because it's the giving spirit.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
yeah.
That made me so happy.
That was larger than you could know, or I'm telling you right now, but that was a big deal for me.
Wow. Yeah. It's the first I've heard of that. Thanks. Yeah. I just, you know, I'm so family centered, you know, and a huge part of my passion is that conscious family, and, you know, and it starts again with us. And so I do my best to always invite people that I don't want people to feel alone on the holidays, you know, and a lot of things and I know for me, if I'm alone during times like that, I can go down those spirals like, you know, the never ending black holes.
Absolutely. I was getting ready to do that. I was like, this is just going to be one of those days. How am I going to work with this energy? But yeah.
And then she had abundance.
And then I had abundance. Yeah. But I think that's like truly living your values, because there's a lot of people that can be like, oh, I'm about love and connection and generosity, and then like not actually like have that as part of their daily practice in their life of like really noticing.
Yeah.
So that speaks to a lot of who you are as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of taking action, right? That's like not just, it's like you literally walking the talk. Like if you're someone that's promoting that, like, are you actually taking action steps of that?
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that I think is really critical in the world right now too. It's like take action, you know, and like really follow through with what you mean, like say what you mean and mean what you say, and be what you want to see in the world as well, you know. So I feel like those are starting like the seeds of cultivating the new paradigm of what we actually want to see. And so much of this time too is also about community and cooperation, you know, in this new paradigm, this golden era and Aquarian age. So it's important to make sure that you recognize that we're all in this together, you know, and even as an empath, like we could be feeling other people's energies and what's going on in the world. And so I think it's also really critical to have that self-care, like radical self-care during these times.
Yes.
Right?
Wild self-care. Yes. And I love what you said about walking your talk, because, you know, again, that separation sometimes, like that us and them, like we're the conscious people, and like all those other people out there, but like we're society, we're part of society too. So if we're not doing our part to be, I don't, the right phrase isn't model citizen, but like kind of, if you're not embodying your practices, if you're portraying yourself as a conscious person, but you're not actually living within your consciousness, and you're not living within your integrity, and you're not extending that out to how you operate in the world, and it's just like smoke and mirrors and flash, then you're not actually contributing to that golden area. You're not contributing to the consciousness of the world. And I think we all, and you can feel the embodiment when someone's actually living what they're talking about and when they're not.
I like to say the bullshit meter is really strong these
so
days.
High.
It really is. It's like, and I think it's also important to have those challenging conversations. Maybe you set aside, like with your mom, and be like, I want to let you know I love you, and share that love right now too. And I see you, and I'm here for you as well. You know what I mean? That's also you stepping up as like having those difficult conversations, of forgiveness and letting that heal. Because I know you were an acupuncturist, so I know you understand like the liver and the anger that can all hold up, and that's not going to support anything, right?
No.
And so if you're angry and then you're drinking alcohol on top of, like, your liver is getting taxed,
battered.
Yeah.
Yes. All the resentment and all the frustration. Yeah, I love, I've had to have so many difficult conversations with people, but I have a little model. I have a quickie model of having a difficult conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if I can remember this, because there's steps. Because I think holidays are a time to have difficult conversations. And I'll just throw this in there in case anyone needs to have a difficult conversation. But you're always going to, just as you said, you're always going to be leading with love and leading with the desire to improve the relationship and to create connection, because that's really the truth, right? You're not going to have a scary, triggering, challenging conversation with someone just because you want to like dump a bunch of stuff on them. Like, I think the ultimate hope is that it's going to improve the relationship, and you're going to communicate better and understand each other better. So just leading with that, like, I love you. I really want to connect with you. I have just a couple of things that I want to share. One thing I want to share with you, so that, for the purpose of understanding each other better, and then opening it up also for that person to have feedback for you as well, and keeping it really tight, like no more than 2 bullet points, and getting super clear on what you want to talk about before you open your mouth. So you don't go down the rabbit hole of, and that one time when I was 17, or that one time when I was 23. And then wrap it up with love at the end. And again, the commitment to the ongoing conversation and the ongoing connection and the ongoing understanding each other.
Yeah. And going back to what we were talking about like the reserve energy and doing the work beforehand, like maybe if there is something from like 22-year-old self that's coming up, like allow yourself to close your eyes and visualize yourself back in that moment. And what did 22 you need to hear? What did they need? Did they need that love? Did they need to be heard? Did they need to be seen? What were they yearning for? And go back and give it to that, what you needed at that time, because that's still part of you. It's still stuck in your psyche. So part of the groundwork that you can do of like clearing that foundation, I work a lot this with my clients too, is just going back to those really difficult moments and what did you need at that time, and give it to them. And also if there's someone that attacked you, or, understand why they did, are they hurt, or maybe they've been assaulted the same way they may have assaulted you. Like, there's deeper things that are happening because hurt people.
Yes.
Right. And so they're trying to get quote unquote even with their pain,
right,
by inflicting it on someone else or projecting it on someone else. Right. And so being from that, again, that hawk perspective, you can understand like, it's all, as Gary Zukov says, it's just a fragmented part of your personality and a frightened part of your personality, and it's all love or it's all fear. So if you have that frightened part of you, or that person that perpetrated whatever to you has that frightened part that they've expressed in an unhealthy way, it's just calling for love. It's just calling for love. And sometimes when you go to these spaces and you're shining so bright, the darkness can come to you, right? And you can be the one that maybe you're shining bright and someone just out of the blue in your family just throws up on you all of their shit, you know?
It's never happened to me before.
What a concept. I never heard
Weird.
of that. Yeah. So to be able to hold that space by also making sure if you are holding space for someone that because you've been doing the work and you are being the light and you're holding that space, like what would be some tips, you know, that you would suggest? I know I have a few, but I would love to hear what you would think too.
So wait, what's the question?
Just like what are some things that you would offer someone if someone's like coming at you, like throwing up all their shit on you because you are the light worker, the light leader?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say this is not a great tip, but do your best. You know, it really depends. Like I've been in a couple situations like that where I was grounded enough and well rested enough and aware enough where I could just catch it. I could grab it and I could transmute it really quickly. And I've had other situations where that happened where it got in. Yeah, like it got in a little bit deeper. And what I've been working with around that is, you know, I think that the reason that that kind of attack or vomiting or jab can hurt, and this may not be conscious, it's just subconscious, or it's again that small child self, is that some part of you might believe that what they're saying is true. And so it can go a little deeper than it needs to. And I've just been working with the idea that like self-love is the best protection. So if I hear something, a jab or an offload onto me, and there's some attempt to like take me out or take me down, conscious or unconscious, I have to really like in the moment, like bolster myself and like who I am. I have to remember who I am in the moment. And I have to remember all the work that I've done. I have to remember how much I love myself. I have to remember how hard I've worked to love myself. And I have to recognize that it's their pain, you know, that they're attempting to,
like work through.
Yeah, they want to offload some pain on me, and I might be a good target for that, but it's not about me. It's kind of about them. And that if I can, again, you know, use the violet flame, wrap yourself in whatever you need to, and stay as present and conscious as you can, you know, and that might look like, you know, not doing any of those kind of buffering, checking out activities so you can stay super clear, setting intentions in advance, like waking up in the morning, setting an intention to stay clear, to stay in your body, you know, to stay in your own lane. So if something's coming at you in a, you know, foggy, unconscious way, you can kind of like catch it and like alchemize it immediately.
I think it's also good if you're traveling to somewhere to set up a little altar, you know, in the room you're staying in, a place where you can keep going to. That just allows you to be grounded. And like when you're in the shower, you know, like visualize yourself washing off everyone's shit that you would have picked up on, especially if you're still working through your own triggers and your own traumas that are going to be stuck in your auric field, right? You're going to have holes in these auric field, and that's where they come in through. So it's just really visualize like from the shower, like that golden light coming out of the water and clearing and purifying and alchemizing that energy and saying like, I release what isn't mine. Like it's really important to wash your hands and your feet because your hands and your feet absorb a lot of energy. Like I know as a healer doing healing work, it's so important to keep washing your hands or your hand. Yeah, they're an extension of your heart. Making sure like maybe you stand outside barefoot if it's appropriate where you live, you know, or like touching a tree or just like connecting with nature in that way. Like these are simple steps. Conscious of your breath, right? Just like when you're having those situations or those conversations are coming at you, become aware of like, am I breathing right now? Is it short and shallow or is it long and deep? You know, and allowing yourself to have that and be present. And to say like, okay, like this is coming up. And a lot of the times those things can be coming up because it's part of what you've asked for, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, you know, you keep asking like, oh, I want peace in my family. And these situations, you working and transmuting it are part of the stepping stones to cultivate that peace.
Right.
So sometimes it can also be like, not be careful what you wish for, but this is part of the process.
Right. And you're going to have to get to work.
Yeah. And the only way out is
setting.
through, like you can't spiritual bypass your way out of this. Like these are times for real growth. And I know with the seasons coming in of winter and like, we're in fall and it is that time of hibernation, but don't be hibernating so much that you're disconnected or checked out and be that hermit, and just slow down. I just keep hearing slow down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is the season of death.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And
allowing things to die. I mean, like, I think, the idea of like letting things go that no longer serve you is cute until you actually have to do it sometimes, because that death can be really painful and you can want to hang on really tight to things. But I love all those practical examples. I think that those are all really powerful because they're also like on the go. You don't have to like step away and do a big ritual. But
be right back. I need to go check on what my tarot cards have to say. Yeah, definitely.
But to have some little, I think those like setting up an altar is so powerful because that's like a reminder of like, sacred objects that are tangible reminders of like, your connection to spirit and your connection to your divinity and to your higher consciousness that you can like look at, see, touch, feel, and like have as like a little touchstone safe space for you wherever you are. I also love exit strategies, like, just even going to the bathroom, staying in there a little bit longer than what might seem normal.
Yeah.
And having like a sponsor, having like a friendship sponsor, someone that you can say like, I might need to be sending you some SOS text and I'm going to need to maybe offload some energy or receive some support. So can you, be with me and just like hold that space for me if I need a little bit of comfort or a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're just like in the
shit,
in the cauldron.
Yeah, for sure.
Alone, swimming, trying to keep your head above water.
Yeah. And like I said, I just feel like I know, there's just a lot of, and like your parents may also be going through their Saturn return too and things like that that may not even be aware of.
When is that again? 16?
So, well, it's just, so the second round is, so if you're like 28, that's 2. So like 58-ish, okay, right? Yeah. So that could also be an issue too, that they're completely disassociate, they're unaware of, know?
Right.
So that's something to also be cautious of.
Sure.
Your mom might be going through menopause, so she's having a huge hormonal issue, just being more conscious and like compassionate towards those things as like, people who are listening to here are on their spiritual path. Mm-hmm. Our parents may not be. In terms of the awareness of what's actually happening with the planets and the stars, more so than like, oh, let me check my daily horoscope, like there's deeper things that are happening that they could also be unaware of. So even just having that slightest bit of awareness is like, it takes the pressure off.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It's going to ease the path a little bit. And, this just came to me in the moment. Is anyone not on a spiritual path? Like, aren't we like acknowledge
spiritual beings having human experiences?
Yeah. We're all, like, I think we're all on a spiritual path, like acknowledge or unacknowledged. Like we're all living out our human curriculums.
Definitely.
So, just because they might not have the accessories or the, be doing it in the same way, they're still tasked with all their lessons and their learnings and their triggers and their wounds, just like we are. But we have more tools. Mm-hmm. I think that's really the differentiation.
Definitely.
We have more tools.
The process system looks different.
Yeah.
The processing.
But like they're also on a spiritual path.
Yep.
It's just, or the path to consciousness. We could say that. They're on a path to consciousness in whatever way that looks like.
And this is what's really interesting because this year is also an 11 years. So it's a master year, right? So that's why everyone went into the new year like 2018 is the year. This is why the shithole has been 2018 is because like Yogi Bhajan said, if you want to master to teach something is to master it, you know? And so we are going through what we've been going through, the ringer. A lot of people I've talked to is like this summer, I'm still hung up on this summer, the power of this summer. It was so intense, and it's because it gifted us grit. Like we were able to really survive something strong that it's gifted us grit.
Yep.
And that's the thing we're in this 11 year right now to really master what's happening. And also Saturn's in Capricorn. Saturn's a master teacher, and with Capricorn, like we're getting to work. Like this is like get to work. So
structures.
Yes.
government,
all those things.
Yeah, we're being polished. For sure. And I don't know what I think it's the justice year. And Lindsay Mack, who you probably know in some way, shape, or form. It was like I think it's the year of like false teachers, like the fall of the false teacher.
Wow.
So if you are resting on love and light, if you are resting on bypass and skipping down the path, and you're not actually participating and engaging with some of the greater, social movements of our time, and you're not speaking on it, you're not part of it, then, people are getting taken down. People are getting called out, like, Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson, Danielle Laporte, like people are getting called out if they're not actually embodying and
what they're sharing.
If they're not embodying and leading, then they're getting taken down for it, and they're having to really look at how they're practicing what they preach. And I think that that's for all of us to be polished by that grit and by that friction and by that uncomfortability with being questioned, pushed. Are we teachers? There's so many self-appointed experts and teachers and leaders in this field. Like, it's so obvious when people buy followers on Instagram. It's kind of embarrassing, but like there's so many just self-appointed gurus, and it doesn't work. Like those people are there for a reason, for a certain entry level of like path. And there's a lot of, the dharma or karma around the victim predator energy, on both sides. But I think that, we are going to emerge. We only have a little bit of time left, but we're going to continue to emerge, and like, we're going to get jostled, and we're going to get really asked to be living what we talk about and living our truth in like greater and greater ways, because nobody has time for that stuff.
There's no room for it anymore.
There's no room for it.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because that's what I've had to navigate through, this past weekend. Like, that's part of my dharma, is to just activate spiritual leaders to really like dive in deep and really dig in deep, so that they can really evoke their medicine and really like unleash their medicine. And part of that is getting to those uncomfortable places too, where it's like, ooh, like, it's not like I called out, but like, ooh, like this is an opportunity for me to look and actually reevaluate, and restructure. And that's again, that Capricorn Saturn energy, that restructure and building that, and I just think a lot of people with what's going on in the world today, you have to really go within and check in and see like what's resonating with your behaviors and your actions and what isn't, and what are you going to do about it? How are you going to step up?
That's a good time. I mean, it really is. Like, yes, we are here, two white women sitting here together, and like the conversations that I've had around privilege and around appropriation, and the amount of like, I really got to see where I was just kind of skating by. And that's not how I want to work, That's not who I want to be. That's not how I want to show up.
We have a responsibility.
We have a really big responsibility. So if you're not recognizing that, you are shutting a door on a lot of opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, and I know we say that to circle back with family, because I think a lot of our families may also be unaware of their privilege.
Yes.
Yep. And I know for me, like after being at this conference Wellspring that Wanderlust put out, I was at my parents' house because I had to be there at 8:30 in the morning to see this spiritual disruptors talk. And my dad went with me. So he came with me, and I was at their house, and they had some family friends over, and I'm having this conversation, and they're just the shit that they're saying of how unaware they are, right? Like that was a trigger for me.
Yeah.
Of just being like, we're 2018 and this is the world we really are living in, because even in spiritual communities, we can be in our bubbles of what's actually happening and the mindset of a lot of people and the way they think. And I know I get triggered at that out here living in Joshua Tree, because people portray Joshua Tree as this magical place, which it has a lot of medicine. But the fact is that the people that live here too are also very in that mindset where there's still Confederate flags hanging in the garages, and you know, like there's still that. So that's been part of a test for me to also, how can I navigate? How can I decide what energies I bring myself in or not, because there still is that energy around too. So I think it's also really important to make sure that if your family still has that, like that mindset, you know, it's just being aware of it, like saying it for yourself, like this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Right. And guess what? That's part of my DNA.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of my DNA.
Yep.
So that's a deeper healing wound that I have to work through and transmute so that it isn't passed on to these next generations. Being a good ancestor, as Becca Piastrelli says, how can I choose to be a good ancestor? You know, and so maybe having those conversations where that person can also be heard, you know, I
think that's super important, because if we put a label on, like if we're like doing us and them, then there's no room for connection and there's no room for listening.
Yeah, because I was still in the wellspring bubble, and it just felt like I was on like a break. Like, I went home to go to sleep, and I'm going back tomorrow to go back into that synergy and that energy. And here I am, like in the default world, as we burners call it. And there's still people that are like, you know, well, Black people, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what? Like, you don't know what it's like being Black.
No.
You can't say that, you know? And things like that, and those kinds of conversations. And it's also when shit like that is said, that's where you just go with it and start breathing through it, right?
I mean, I think it's what's my point here? You have to know your audience, right?
Yeah.
Because if you come in like swinging with a notebook full of facts and like, let me introduce to you these concepts that you've never heard about before because they're important to me and you have to know them, chances are you're not totally going to get heard. It's going to miss the mark.
Totally.
It's not going to have the desired effect. So, you know, like I have, like my uncle voted for Trump, like most of my mom's side of the family voted for Trump. And if I just labeled them as Trump supporters, that would be the end of the conversation. It would be like, you and me, we're different. We don't feel the same about anything, so we can't connect. But, you know, with my uncle, I've been like, what is it that you like about him? You know, like, what do you appreciate about him? Like, what are the things that you see as valuable? Just because I want to understand, because I'm like, I don't get it. Help me understand what do you value? He's essentially telling me what he values. It's not about let's like fluff up this guy. It's just like when I say, what is it that you like about him? He's communicating to me his values, which may be different than mine, but it's an attempt at connection. And I think with like if you can just even throw in one thing, you know, like one thing.
Oh yeah.
That might be like benign enough. Yeah. Like a little like kind of neutral fact. Yeah. And then they might just kind of go, huh, interesting. Because I know that even with myself as like being a self-professed conscious person, when I started doing Layla Assad's Me and White Supremacy Challenge, I was like, holy shit. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Like, all right, my world is blown. My mind just exploded. All right.
This is the work.
Yeah. And you, like, but I think of where I was like a year ago, right after Charlottesville. And, you know, I said some stuff online that was well received by some people and very not well received by other people. And I had a lot of work to do around checking myself. And then it's just like, and then the layers. And it just like, it kept sinking in. And I think that like to come out with like the full artillery to someone who doesn't have the framework and hasn't been having the conversations.
Or the energetic capacity to receive it.
Right. It's just like, it's a fail for everybody involved. But if you can just like gently start offering some things like, well, it's not really about that. It's actually this, you know, like privileges.
The bullet points like you were talking about. Two bullet points.
Couple bullet points. Just like keep it concise and like give it as an offering, not as like a, you're an idiot because you don't feel this
Let
way.
me tell you what's actually going down. Yeah.
But just like an offering, like get the seeds planted, get the conversation moving, and then like allow space for change and allow space for curiosity
and the trust, right? It's like,
Right.
I've done all that I can,
Right.
and I'm just going to continue to lead by example rather than being like, well, you need to start doing this and you need to start doing this. It's the
Nobody likes
example.
that.
No, because then
Or
it's
responds
because
to
it goes
it.
back to that inner child of like being disciplined, of like
Yes.
pointing the finger at you.
You're bad. You don't get it. You're
exactly,
doing it wrong.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of it. Like the fact that what I shared with them was like, you know, of the 154 shootings that we've had in this country, none of them were from a person of color or an illegal immigrant or a woman at that fact.
Facts.
Yeah, fact.
Here's a gift. for
Okay,
you.
yeah. So you can run with that and let that sink in for a bit.
Yeah, like that's indisputable. Let that filter into
Yeah,
your
it's not
system a little
it's not
bit.
about my personal
No.
views. That's just black and white what has happened.
Yep.
You know, and so those are more of the ways that you need to come and approach it in that way, because there's so much programming that they are still working through as well, like religious programming with like LGBTQ and what is love, you know, things like that. There's that whole skewed patriarchal mindset. So that's also, again, going back to those truths that this is what's happening. We've been programmed for so long. And a lot of us that have been doing the work, like we're still deprogramming ourselves and putting in these new codes. And if there's people who haven't been as committed to doing the work, it's a lot stickier. Imagine where you were like 5 years ago, whatever, you know, put yourself in their shoes in that way. And that also helps you bring a deeper understanding and being, you know, everyone's like, oh, it's all being like empathetic. Like that's also part of empathy, is seeing people for where they are.
Yes. So much compassion.
Yeah.
Like just bring all the compassion you have to yourself into the dinner table.
Yeah. What I like to do also for my Thanksgiving that I always do, my family makes fun of me, but I don't care. I like everyone to go around and share what they're grateful for.
Of course. I do.
Right?
That
That's
too.
what we do for Thanksgiving. Like Sabrina wants us to go around and share what we're grateful for. And then some people, you know, that's just what I do. That's how I take action of like remembering what, because like Thanksgiving is my least favorite holiday of all the holidays because of the colonialization and just like the genocide and all of that. So to transmute that fact of what Thanksgiving represents, let me focus back on the gratitude and the gathering of my family being here, you know, so at least kind of transmute that pain and also honor indigenous people and things in that way. And I'm very big on that as well. You know, just like let's honor the people that actually lost their lives due to this holiday we're all celebrating around, which now has been really overturned by consumerism and capitalism with like, oh, fuck Black Friday. Let's do Thanksgiving. We're going to open up the stores, you know, and just having those things.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just like knowing, okay, so this is what's happening in the world. How can I choose to bless up, or how can I choose a different approach? Like we were talking about earlier.
Choose your program.
Yeah. Choose your program, choose your path, and choose how you are stepping up to experience. Like claiming your own sovereignty and your responsibility of having, all right, like maybe you talk to a sibling that you're close with and being like, hey, before the holiday starts, like this is my intention for going. What is yours, and having that, at least someone at that table that sees you.
That's really good. That's really important. Yeah.
You're talking about SOS with someone outside.
With a friend, someone on the inside.
Yeah, but someone on
good.
the inside, like, hey, let's get each other's back because,
I do that with my brother. Yeah. Yeah.
And that helps build your bond too.
It really
right? Like,
does.
high five, we survived Thanksgiving,
I know,
right?
We did it. We did it. We
Yeah,
made it.
so that's just the biggest thing is understanding your action, how you can show up, how you can take responsibility and honor your space. I think those are the biggest pieces. And I'm excited because Erin's also hosting a breath work. She's hosting a holiday
cleanse.
A pre-holiday
Emotional
cleanse.
cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, Sabrina inspired me to make that my December breathwork group. And it's a virtual group, so you can join wherever you are in the world. But that just really, I was thinking a lot. I'm going home to see my dad. And this is I can't remember how many years ago, but I think it was like 5 years ago. I swore I would never return unless my brother came back with me. Because the last time that it was just the two of us, it was like World War III. And my brother's not coming back with me this time, and I'm going alone. It was just really cool to be like, I can. And I talked to my dad about it actually, and I was like, yeah, remember that last one that we had, and we were just kind of remarking on how much we both grown and how much we both shifted, and again, I couldn't say that like my dad is on like a formal spiritual path, but he has grown and changed, he has evolved. Absolutely. He's been super open to it. So in my own anticipation though, and like my past anticipations of my family experiences, I just want to create this group for everybody to do that, get their reserve energy built up, get their sweet inner child mantras built up, and get their self-love really like boosted so they could feel really whole and grown up and be in their adult bodies and their adult consciousnesses as they go into re-engaging with their families.
Yeah. Oh, I love hearing that. So good. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, I think is really important what you said is like acknowledge your family for over the years of how much they've grown. I know that's something I'm doing a lot more with my mom too, is like seeing how more open and receptive she's been instead of me having to like hide out that I was doing everything because of what would mom think. And now she's a little more understanding more of my world, and she calls me like, hey, bring the Palo Santo. She would have never said that, like things like that. So it is possible for our family to also shift, and I think that's also part of you leading by example.
Exactly.
Because they see how it shifted in you, and it's like, wow, they still are, you're still part of the DNA, like you're still very connected, and that gives them, sometimes all they need is that invitation, of like, wow, if Erin's doing it, then I guess I can start doing it too,
Yeah, and if you look happy and fulfilled in your life, then of course people are going to be curious about what you're doing. What are you up to?
Yeah.
And I love that idea of the DNA, because it's like if we can alter our DNA through our lifestyle choices and through our vibrations and our frequencies and the things that we do to uplift and heal and grow, then then we truly are healing 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. Like we are having that impact. Like if my DNA is changing, so is the DNA of my blood.
And that's how we're healing the ancestors and healing our parents and our siblings and the generations to come. That's why we're going through this work right now. Yeah. So to wrap up, I want to ask a few lightning round questions.
Sure.
Okay. First is, what does sovereignty mean to you?
Strength, ownership of self, being able to, I think of a crown. I think of, being the upright queen or king of your world. Self-ownership is about being able to choose your programming, to be able to walk in your truth, your integrity, and your values, and be a strong leader, be a strong owner of self.
Yes, I love that.
To be a lightning rod.
Yeah,
to carry yourself with integrity and grace and elegance throughout your life.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what would you say is really inspiring you right now?
My connection with spirit is really inspiring me right now, because I came back here thinking that I was going to buy a house here, and I'm not going to buy a house here. And this entire year has been about deep faith and about listening, within and to spirit about what my next moves are. And it's been such a good ride, like such a fun adventure to be able to listen and believe and trust. And this next upcoming year feels like like it's an ever deepening experience. So my relationship with the earth and with spirit is like the most thrilling thing for me, because that relationship is just, it's getting stronger and stronger. And the support is like infallible and the strongest that I've ever felt in my life. So, and it delivers so much to me. Like it delivers my creativity. It delivered my sacred terrain course. It's delivering me the book. Like it is giving me so much in the exchange of, you know, honoring spirit, honoring the land, honoring the earth. There's a lot of gifts that are coming my way, and it's totally unknown and it's really wide open. And I love the freedom in that and the discovery in that. Like, I love diving into it is unknown, but it's like, I don't have any fear about what's next.
It's total trust.
Total trust. And that just feels like leaning back into the divine support of the universe is like really exciting for me.
I love hearing that, because I think you've been able to experience that because you've seen over time too how it supported you time and time. Yeah.
And it keeps working. And it's just like, it's like everything's a relationship. And like, if you think of something as a relationship and you nurture it, if that's a value that you have, to have strong, reciprocal, growth-oriented, inspiring relationships, like my relationship with spirit, my relationship with the earth, those are some of my most solid relationships.
So speaking of, what would you say has been a really powerful animal totem for you lately?
Ooh, you know what? Out here, it's the rabbit. The rabbit, like the bunnies. Those are my... those are the ones that always show up for me. And, you know, they are sweet and quick, but they are those interdimensional beings. And I always know I'm on the right track when I see them. Raven and crow have been really big ones too. Last year it was coyote. Like last year it was absolutely coyote, but now it's more like ravens and rabbits.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I got to pet a raven a week ago.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. I would love to do that.
Crazy. It was crazy. Okay, so I know we've been talking a lot about this today, but what would you say to younger Erin?
You know, I love her so much. I would just say, you know, everything that you're into right now is everything that you're going to continue to love. And you're not weird. Like, there's nothing about you that's weird. There's nothing about you that's like freakish or unusual. Stick to your path. Like, do your curiosity and your mind and your heart. Like, you're right on track. You know what you're doing. And you know, you're gonna go really, really far. You're gonna go farther than you can even imagine right now. So just get ready and keep loving yourself a lot.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. Okay, where can we find you?
You can find me at my website, erintelford.com, and on Instagram, erintelford __. On Facebook a little bit, but not so much. So those are the two best places.
And all the links are also below in the show notes.
Great.
And if there's something else that you want to say to whoever's listening about jumping into this holiday season with the family and all that, what would you like to share?
You know, it sounds so basic, but like, you can love yourself through this. Like, whatever triggers that are coming up for you, however raw you feel, however chaotic or like discombobulated you feel, it's not about getting taken out. It's not about taking a dive or feeling really low or getting really activated. It's really about your recovery time. So if you go into these holidays with the best intentions and you just get flattened, you know, pick yourself back up. You know, this is part of your family is your, you know, they give you everything that you need to grow. And it's not always delivered with kindness or with grace or with finesse, but they are giving you opportunities for you to see where you need to love yourself more and give yourself more compassion. So don't kick yourself while you're down. Don't add fuel to the fire. Just whenever you're able to separate and come back to yourself, just come back and come back hard.
Hard and strong.
Yeah, and triple up on that self-care so you can really feel like you're back in your body and you're back in your practices. And you know, it's not a failing if you have a tough time. it's just an opportunity to, deepen your practices and really take good care of yourself.
Amazing. Well, again, if you want to participate in her pre-holiday breathwork, that's on December 16th. And the link for that is also below in the show notes. And thank you so much for coming to my house and having this conversation. I ran into her at Pilates. I was like, I need to have this conversation with you on the podcast. So
thank you so much for having me. This is really, it's a beautiful conversation, really timely just for me as well. And yeah, it's interesting. It's like, even just in the talking about it, there's just emotion moving around it, because it's, our inner children are so present and all the time, and they just need our love. So thank you for giving me the chance. Thank you for everything, and just for having me on your podcast. It's so fun.
yeah, thank you so much again. And just take care of yourself this holiday season, people, really, because we've been doing so much work, and don't allow this to steer you off course. If anything, use it as fuel to inspire you to keep diving in deeper, keep transmuting harder, and keep loving even stronger.
Amen.
Right? Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing you soon. Take care. I mean, come on. If that episode wasn't juicy for you, I don't know what is. We invite you to practice these suggestions and tips and practices that you can do to really support you, so that you can be in your integrity, so that you can be strong, so that you can allow yourself to shine and show up, because you are here to lead by example, and our biggest triggers can be our families. So allow yourself to accept the challenge and pass with flying colors simply by being you. And if you know of a friend who you need to reach out to, who may be alone, we invite you to do so. If there's a friend that needs to hear this conversation, please share it. This episode is, I feel, one of the most powerful episodes that I have yet to put out in the Sovereign Society podcast. And so I just want to thank my dear, dear sister friend, Erin Telford, and she left Joshua Tree today, and so I had such an amazing run with her, going to Pilates like multiple times a week and just really connecting with her deeper. And this episode is it's such medicine. So allow yourself to integrate what we're really sharing with you. Listen to it again, especially around Hanukkah season, Christmas season, whatever time you're coming around, whatever the holiday is that you are celebrating with your family. And allow yourself to just listen to one another. This is why I also created Mending the Lineage, to bring in the heart of the holidays. And so it's been really amazing to see that experience too. And I just want to thank Erin so much for being so vulnerable and open and coming over to the Creosote Casita to have this conversation. I love her so much. Go check out her energetic breath work clearing that she's doing, her breathing detox that she's offering in between Thanksgiving and the Christmas, Hanukkah season, Kwanzaa season. And oh man, this is so good. This is so good. So I hope you enjoyed. I'm sure you did. I'm sure there's a lot of like wake up calls and aha moments. Let us know you're tuning in. I love reposting your guys's stories and sharing what you've posted on the Instagram. And just as a reminder, I am taking off the whole month of December, so we only have 2 episodes left this season, and I just want to thank you so much for your love and support. Take care of yourself this holiday season. Fill up your cup, create that residual energy, and allow yourself to shine and radiate your radness. I'm so grateful for you this Thanksgiving season here in America, and I look forward to see what we continue to co-create together. Have a beautiful time with your family, and if you're not with your family and you're with your friends, enjoy it, be in that space, and just reach out to those that can use a little extra love. We love you so much. Have a great one. Take care.